Hey everyone! Good day, good night, good afternoon, good everything. How are you doing? I hope you're doing fine because I know I am, because I have right here with me two amazing guys, Max and Carlo, who are from the core team of RIVES. Hi guys, how are you doing?
Hey, doing good, bro. How are you?
I'm good, I'm fine. Very happy to be here and to be able to talk to you guys.
Awesome, doing fine as well, man.
Nice. So today we're going to talk about RIVES. RIVES is this virtual console where you can play and verify your games on chain. So that means every step, every action you take is completely verifiable and your gameplay is completely reproducible, right? And then you have functionalities like cartridges. I would like you to explain a little bit of how that works, what it is, so the audience can have a better grasp and understand of what we're talking about.
Sure, yeah. I can maybe start with a bare bones explanation. I don't know who listens to this, but if there are any not too technical people, maybe I can fill that in. Maybe Carlo can add some juice on the technical side after. But in short, we're running a game emulator on a Cartesi rollup, and that allows you to build, or anyone to build, small games that we call cartridges or programs. Right? They don't have to be games; they can be small programs or toys. Carlo really likes the toys. And it literally just deploy them, write them. They're small RISC-V programs, drag and drop them on RIVES, and then people can, interact with them, play with them, and essentially submit their gameplay logs on chain. Afterwards, these gameplay logs will be, rerun on a rollup where nodes are running the same VM, the same Cartesi machine, and the same emulator in the same game with your gameplay log to verify your score, or whatever you generated during that interaction is actually true, or is what you claim it to be. So you get kind of a really easy way to build stuff as cartridges, and for people to interact and play with these cartridges in a fully verifiable and decentralized way.
So you can automatically have some monetization right there with the aspect of I'm creating cartridges and then I can sell it to other people. And
that's something we're thinking about. So for now, it's really focused on just people building stuff. Games are playable for free at the moment. You have to pay a bit of gas. We're deployed on Base at the moment. So just to submit your gameplay, you can play them as well for free and without submitting anything in your browser at the moment. But yeah, we have some cool ideas around maybe monetizing and selling cartridges and stuff like that in the future.
I also think that a good contextualization could be like, how does this idea come about? What brought it to life? What was the spark there?
Yeah. It started off with, really early on, well, not early on, but when was it, Carlo? Like 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, that Doom was run on, or Eduardo did a demo with Doom running inside of the Cartesi machine. And RIVES is sort of a continuation of that, where we said, okay, we have this really easy way for people to run Doom. Why don't we make kind of a framework around that, or a way for other people to build games and to deploy them, on a console. So moving from just one single game running on Cartesi to a full console.
I see.
Yeah, if you want to dig deeper on this, so Eduardo did this tweet, which became kind of famous, a lot of retweets and views and stuff. And what he was doing, he was benchmarking the Cartesi machine, because Eduardo is this crazy scientist that's always optimizing the Cartesi machine, right? So he wanted to show that, okay, the Cartesi machine now is powerful enough to run Doom inside an OS, rendering graphics in real time. And then he made it. And after that, we said, okay, so this is really cool, but now we must make it verifiable on chain, right? So we created this other application that came before RIVES, which was called the Word Arcade. And that was a Cartesi rollup in which we had Doom, but we also had a couple of other games like Entcopter and others that Eduardo brought. And then we generalized even more, made RIVES, right? Because Word Arcade were just games that we were putting there. But we have this concept of, let's make everybody a creator, easy to use and all this stuff. So then RIVES came out of it, right? So we're adding economy, adding all the aspects. So it becomes a shared economy and creator space.
I see. So do you think this creator space is what sets it apart from the other gaming platforms, or how do you see the big differentials of Rives against everything else that's out there?
You want to start answering this, or should I?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Are you asking like in the crypto sphere or like outside of crypto?
Anything, man. Both.
Maybe I can take one. Carly, which one do you want to take?
I can start, or you know.
So I can take the crypto one, and maybe Carly, you can talk about the non-crypto one. Go for it.
Okay, so if you take a look at Rives, you see a lot of gaming platforms and environments that have the same elements, but they're not quite combined, right? So you look at the gaming ecosystem, you have marketplaces, a bunch of them, ranging from mobile ones from Apple and from Google, or traditional ones on desktops like Steam. But they're really hard on the developers, right? They provide distribution, but they take like 30% out of it. So in Rives, we want to do this in a more fair way, and we want to spread the entire money that goes into a game economy throughout everyone that's contributing. So we're thinking about integrating modders, because modders traditionally they don't really make money or anything like that. So the guy that makes a really cool Minecraft mod, he makes a lot of value, because you have all these YouTubers with millions of views and stuff. They're generating values for YouTube, for the streamers themselves, but the modders themselves, they might just get like a footnote or something. They don't really make money.
Yeah,
so Rives, we're trying to change this. Yeah,
it's almost like they're in for the fun.
Yeah, they're in for the fun, not for the fame or glory or money, right? And you have esports, you have all these gaming use cases, but they're all disconnected in different platforms and stuff like this. So what we're trying to do in Rives is integrating all these use cases of games and spreading the value in a fair way among the community, right? And Maxim can talk more about it, but we're focusing on having a good experience on each one of these use cases, right? So we're trying to make this virtual console, which is based on this Rive framework, which is basically a Cartesi machine with Alpine-based Linux and a lot of goodies in there for development. That has a very nice API that's easy to use, so people can develop like really quick, learn it in like a day or so, and develop a simple game in like 1 or 2 days. We're looking at all this reproducibility, because that's core on what we do, and that's great for speedrunning other stuff, because no one is going to steal your gameplay or anything like that. So yeah, we're putting together all these nice use cases in a collaborative Web3 platform. That's the overall view.
Yeah, maybe to add to that a bit. So the way I think about it is, we're kind of at the intersection of Web 2 and Web 3 a bit, because we have, obviously, we're running this VM or this emulator that, it runs existing program, or can run, Cartesi can run existing programs, libraries, etc. The emulator itself, lets you build programs in any programming language you want. They run locally on your computer when you first play them. So you don't even need to, if you don't want to, interact with any blockchain stuff. However, once you want to save something, or once you want to upload something to the blockchain, like to Rives, that's where you essentially, need to submit a transaction, and that's where the blockchain part comes in. So it's actually interesting, because we have, a lot of the benefits of, ease of use from a programmer perspective, but also from an onboarding of user perspective of a, kind of Web 2. And also, it's very expressive, because you can run all these, you can build these games in any programming language, etc. Yeah, so I don't see any like comparable in Web 3. There's a lot of teams that are doing kind of like console like things. Either they're not on-chain and verifiable, or they're kind of constrained a lot more in terms of like what can be built, because these games are either running on the EVM directly, or on other VMs that aren't as well suited. And yeah, so that's kind of maybe just to add on that what Carlo just said.
Just the core infrastructure from what Carlo mentioned, like Rive, right, where you do have more flexibility and more power to do anything you want. I found it interesting that you mentioned using any other language. You do have a SDK that you offer to people to develop games, right? And I understand it's based on Pico 8. Not sure
Actually,
how to pronounce.
it's not based on Pico 8, but Pico 8 is another fantasy console.
Oh, Pico
So
8 is another fantasy.
There's a lot of other fantasy consoles. Pico 8 is probably the most famous one. And, fantasy console being Carlo can maybe correct me here, but, an emulator of something that doesn't exist, in hardware or in the physical world. So it's hence fantasy, it's a new type of console. And the idea is to create, an environment that's completely new. So the emulator is this new environment which has its own constraints, its own rules, and where you can build things in. And Rive is also a fantasy console, but a completely different one from Pico 8.
Oh, I see. But there is some intersection right there. Things you can build similar. There is some.
It's both have constraints and are well defined, and that the goal of that is to create kind of a cozy environment, kind of like a tiny computer type vibe.
Mm-hmm.
That makes you more creative, and that makes you want to, since you're kind of limited, you have to think outside of the box to build cool shit. And so a lot of fantasy consoles have these constraints, and they end up having a lot of, games that somewhat look alike because they have, some shared colors sometimes, or shared, like, maybe the size of the games are square or need to be fit in the screen somehow. So you get like cartridges or games that look alike in a way, but that are still very different and very creative, one from, uniquely from one from the other.
I see.
One from another, yeah.
So you are inheriting the concepts of the whole concept of emulation and how the virtual console works more than anything.
It's so I play my share of consoles, like physical consoles, like ranging from Nintendo 8-bits up to these more modern ones, up to the Switch, right? And these all are physical consoles that have a specification, right? So they have a CPU, they have a GPU, they have their SDK, all this stuff. These fantasy consoles, the difference is that unlike their counterparts, which have actual physical implementations, they have specs of like a refresh rate, screen resolution, CPU, all this stuff, but they don't really have a hardware implementation. So their implementation is just an emulator. That's why they are called fantasy consoles. But the point is that unlike when you do desktop development, in which you have this big range of different configurations and setups, so someone might have a better or worse GPU, stuff like this. These virtual consoles, they are homogenic, right? So everyone is going to play under the same conditions. And generally, these are like super easy for any hardware to overcome. They're like retro-like. So lower resolution, not so much computation, reduced palette, all this kind of stuff. And while this, let's say, blocks you on the possibilities, but because you're not going to make a AAA game like, I don't know, let's say the new Call of Duty or something like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it adds to simplicity, because when you do it like this, they make this really neat API that's really concise, that you can learn fast. And it's kind of like Lego, right? So you're constrained on what you can do. You got these few pieces, but it's really easy for you to get started and to start building your own stuff, experimenting and doing cool things. So you can really have a cool, innovative game that's developed by a person or two, instead of having like these huge teams working months to develop this game, right?
I see. I really like this idea, this concept of taking things simple, making it simpler, and I think even using things that already exist out there, right? This ends up being a brand of Cartesi as a whole, and I think Rives also inherit that mode where that idea where you can just use what you know and do not reinvent the wheel necessarily all the time, right?
Yeah, in particular for Rives, since we have this virtual console like dev experience, you can also reuse all the tooling that you're used to make sprites, to make tile maps and all this stuff, right?
I see.
So that's also a benefit of being on this category of fantasy consoles like TK80 or Pico 8.
I see. Yeah, no, this is great. And I mean, and this brings a lot of baggage, right? I mean, even people, I hear that you can even, Max, actually even develop the game yourself, not being a developer. How was this experience like?
Yeah, it was very fun. I didn't think I would be able to do it. I mean, I guess I was hoping that I could. I wanted to give it a try, and I was happy with the result. And the process itself was fun as well. I used Cursor, to be fair. So but it's getting a lot easier now to use using these AI tools to just build something. And I think since Rives is really well defined, has good docs, since you can use existing languages to build your games, it's, I think, well positioned as well for people that want to use AI to build games. So we really want to reduce the entry barrier for anyone to build, mod, create, whether that's existing developers that want to build and write the code entirely themselves, or people like me maybe that just want to try to build something. And in the end, the result is okay. I think it worked out. It was fun. For me, it was fun to build it. Almost like, I think one thing we like to say is like, maybe the ultimate game is to build your own game. And I felt like that when I was creating it. It felt like a game almost, just kind of, going through the steps of adding new layers to the game and, creating the sprites and having this packaged end product almost that you could build. It took me 2 days. I was quite slow. I had a few technical issues, and the AI was messing up sometimes. So I had to would delete some stuff that I did. And so it's going to get better from here. But 2 days with some hurdles that I had, which is crazy, I think, for, a simple game, but still pretty cool.
No, that's insane. I remember when I was starting to develop and learning how to program, one of my motivations was to build games. And I would take just so much longer than that to do anything, even with all the tools I could gather at the time. It would take forever to do anything. I bet Carlo had experiences with that as well, being a developer and loving games the way you do.
Yeah, it's really cool, but it's also sometimes frustrating, right? It's like that sentence, when you develop something, you feel like terrible, like useless for 99.9% of the time, and then when it works, it's like I'm a god. Right? So
yeah, I'm a genius. I made it.
yeah, it's a very bipolar experience, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it would be nice for people who are listening to this and gonna have their try on Rives to have a better understanding of how things work on the back end. Would you be able to show us a little bit about the architecture or the data flow or anything to explain to the guys?
Yeah, I can present the architecture. It's pretty complex, but bear in mind that we made this one, it's on mainnet, and two, it's supposed to scale, right? So we have this architecture that's pretty complex to support this. Let me share my screen, just a second.
Silence.
Can you see it?
Yep. Now we can see it.
Okay, awesome. So this is basically the. Yeah, it's kind of complex, but it's actually not complex. So let's start from here. So this is you, the user. You're happy. You go on there on Rives.io and you start a Doom match. And then you play, and well, you have fun. Your score is verified. You have achievements, all this stuff. But what's going on under the hood? So what happens here is that when you're done playing, you submit your gameplay on the blockchain, right? In our case, this is the Base blockchain. And when that happens, well, there's a couple of stuff happening on the back end. So we have a Cartesi rollups node that's going to pick up that and advance the state. But this node, it really doesn't scale, let's say. So we had done all this crazy stuff underneath, so that it's possible. So what's this crazy stuff underneath? So we have this concept that we call the inception rollups. So you can think of it like a map reduce. So each job that you have to validate the gameplay, it's individual and runs in parallel. And then you actually have the Cartesi rollup doing the reduce part, right? Like condensing, saying who won a championship, who is the leader, all the stuff. So whenever you have a gameplay submitted, you have these validation workers that will pick up your game. They will pick up the cartridge in which you played and the rule set, because that's a detail we have mentioned, but RIVES is very customizable, and even for user level. So you can pick up Doom, for instance, and customize it for having different number of lives, enabling or disabling guns, and all this stuff that will really change a lot the experience, right? So this validator receives the rules that you play, the cartridge, and the gameplay. Then it runs the entire match inside the Cartesi machine and spits, oh, this is the result. This is what actually happened. You died at stage whatever, or completed the game with this amount of bullets, all this stuff. This is your score. And submits that back to this main rope, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this main rope will then define, oh, so yeah, you won the championship, or you did this achievement, all this cool stuff. Then when we have a lot of players, like we had these two tournaments that were pretty big. The first one when we launched on Mainnet with Doom, and another one with the Creator Season, which we had literally more thousands of gameplays being played. That's a lot of demand on the front end. And the Cartesi node has this inspect functionality in which you can query dynamic data. But since this node might get overloaded, we created this part here, which is a preview of what's going to happen with Lambda on Cartesi, right? So what happens is we have this special node called reader advance, and it advances the state of the application. And once it does, it saves the states in snapshots. And then we have as many of these reader inspect nodes as we want that read this state and are able to answer for inspects. So let's say there's a lot of people querying for a specific gameplay or for what's the leaderboard, all the stuff. All these things are inspects and they're answered by these guys here. And the last part that's up here is, we have a traditional web server that will just serve you this base page. And we have this centralized aggregator, which does these things of consolidating a lot of on-chain data that we have. Like when we had this Doom season, from the RIVES point of view, it wasn't just a tournament. It was multiple tournaments. Each day was a tournament. And then this aggregator is the guy that put everything together and created that beautiful page in which you can see the score of each player on each day and the overall ranking and all this stuff. So this aggregator here does this stuff. And then, yeah, we have cache all over the place because cache is good, cache is nice, and cache will hold the load for you, right?
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, it seems very complicated, but it's not that complicated at all.
The one thing that I'm trying to understand best is this multiple validation workers. You're dynamically spinning up other validations nodes to offload the balance of the original rollup node.
Yeah, so what we get inside the rollup, this rollup here actually doesn't really validate the games. It's more of managing the tournaments and all this functionality, right? And the validation happens inside here. So we have Cartesi coprocessor coming up, for instance. So once it's ready, what we want to do is make these all coprocessor processes. Because a coprocessor, it's a Lambda, right? So you have the inputs, you process, and you have an output, which is exactly what's in here. Right now, these guys are like mini rollups. So they just receive the input, they just output the stuff on chain, and then this output result is actually the input for the main RIVES rollup. But this will become a Cartesi coprocessor in the near future.
I love that, because what you need in this case is essentially a stateless computation. So coprocessor is perfect solution for that. And at the same time, you still have the reader inspect nodes to scale and not overload. You're like using completely different parts in here.
Yeah, so we have way more submissions. We just fire up more of these guys. No worries. We have a lot of people querying the front end, all the stuff. We just fire up more of these guys. Yeah.
This is very nice. I mean, I think this is a huge example of how to scale anything with Cartesi, right? It's a great design for you to be able to scale even other solutions with Cartesi, whatever you're running there. Not only games. That's not only valid for Rives, but you can take inspiration of that to do so much. It's great.
Yeah. Some time ago, we made like an Uber like application, and it could work somewhat similar in the architecture. But yeah, everything depends on your own application, right? But this is a design that can be replicated to many different use cases.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. It's amazing. Thank you so much for this thorough explanation. I really think I have a much better grasp of Rives right now. I would like to actually ask you something more meta, I guess. What are the future plans that you have for Rives? So more in the poetical side of it, future vision. What essential features that you wanted to see there, interoperability between games, multiplayer games? What do you think is possible, and what would you like to see the most?
Yeah,
want to start? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of ideas of where this could go. I think the overarching kind of direction is, we have this really cool emulator, this console. We're running things on chain, so you need some form of financialization for this to make sense, and we need financialization to be embedded somewhere, and ideally some form of, especially in our case, we can do it, composability between games, or between programs. We already have this today where, for example, one cartridge is output, like you could create a song on a sequencer toy. You can use that output as an input to a game, right? So for example, you create a song with a sequencer, and then you could use that song in a Guitar Hero type game, or in a rhythm game. Wow. As some form of song that you need to follow. You need to follow the beat, maybe, like in Guitar Hero. So that's a very simple example of a game composing kind of with the output of another game, or with another game.
There's Linus game actually that does something more complex. So it's a roguelike game, but you gotta play on the rhythm, right? And you can just input whatever song you want in there. So you go to the Sectoy, compose a song
by a different cartridge. Exactly. So this is a very basic, first proof of concept or first version of that. But like the end state could be, some form of console where any, game can be extended, where any cartridge can be extended. So you start having kind of an ecosystem of a bunch of small programs, or that we call cartridges, that can extend each other, that can be modded, that can create outputs, which are these tapes, or maybe items that are generated, maybe songs in the case of the Sectoy, and building around that, having a way to financialize all these kind of creative outputs and inputs, and the programs themselves as well. So you get to something a bit like a console, but that is very different from any console that we've seen to date, because it's one, it's very expressive, but two, it everything can talk to each other, and everything can sort of interact with each other, and value can flow to whatever is created or creative, whatever people think is creative or grabs attention. That's maybe my take, and maybe Carlo's going to have a longer take, but I think that's how I would sum up the RIVES vision.
Just one question in there, in this context. It's this is the property of enhancing and enabling modding as well, right? It has a direct relation to that, which you just mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, having the gameplay logic or the cartridges on chain, you can kind of also create kind of you can make it quite easy for people to mod things, but also for value to go to whoever, if I took this game and I kind of tweaked a few things, kind of forked it, if you will, in theory, you could have an easy way to reward the original creator as well. So those are kind of economic models that we're thinking about, and that, in future versions, in a few, it's not for right away, but for later down the line, there's, things we could do around that. So yeah, modding, extending, building on top of, is where it gets interesting, because you can have, for example, even items. Imagine I create an avatar or a character in a cartridge, and then that character or sprite can be used within a bunch of different games, and I can play them. And maybe the character can evolve based on how I play these games. Maybe items are generated from these games that I can use to upgrade my character.
And then you use this character in another game. And
exactly. This is one This is just one idea. But like the cool thing is anyone could build these kind of streams of interconnected programs, like or kind of build, along, maybe say, oh, I like this avatar idea. Let me build something that uses the avatar. Or maybe like, fuck that, I'll build my own avatar creator and my own, And so having these kind of standards or these kind of composable kind of flows emerge is something that we kind of would be excited about. And it's kind of like very emergent behavior that appears then, right?
It goes a little bit back to the constraints discussion that we were talking about, right? Because then the constraints of your avatar games start being the other games themselves. So they become essentially not only part of your game, but the structure and the laws by which it works and evolves.
100%. You could even say, I think Carlo likes the idea of a level creator, right? A level creator is also defining a cartridge. By definition, is a set of constraints. Like within the game, you have to play within the constraints of the game. Maybe within a level creator, you also are constrained by even bigger constraints than the console itself. So it's all about constraints.
And then there's something that we want to explore as well, which is when you do a game, and that's still going into that part of spreading value. You can just have these packages in which you have sprites, another one with maps, another one with songs, all this stuff. And when you use them, you pay the content creator, right? So it's like every creation is just a bunch of Lego piled up, and you can take a look at it, add more pieces that you want, and do your mod like forking it, or you can just deconstruct it, pick up the pieces that you want, and do your own thing. So but since we're doing this in a tracked fashion, then everybody should be rewarded by their efforts, right? So I think it's a really nice way of allowing everyone to do their crazy stuff, but still sharing the value of everyone that brought it to life.
I mean, I know for sure that there are developers that rather start working on top of something that already exists. So this is also a huge enabler for them. At least I'm like this. The way I learned programming was by checking out on GitHub whatever projects I thought was interesting and trying to tweak them to my way until it looks nothing like the original. But it works. It really does. That's one of the magic of creating products, solutions, games, whatever you want.
Yeah, it's much easier for you to get started with something that's ready and just tweaking it a bit to have that behavior that you want, right?
Yeah, and less stressful as well.
Yeah. One thing I like to think about a bit, and this is again meta because I like meta shit, but Rives itself is a game, right? Where you're kind of playing this MMO of sorts, and anyone can create resources or mini games within this MMO. Anyone can create by interacting with these programs, with these cartridges. They can create things, right? So it's kind of this creative, fun, roll up of sorts, or chain of sorts. It doesn't look like a chain. It looks like a computer. The MMO looks like a computer. Maybe there's like limited resources you have, limited space you have on a computer. So you need to be smart about what you create and how you create it. So yeah, I think you can look at these things from a technical angle, from a like economic angle, from a gaming angle, but yeah, I just wanted to add that piece. It's quite fascinating where this can go.
Yeah, you can gamify the game platform. So yeah, it's like gameception.
And every app or every cartridge is by definition gameception. Yeah, it's by definition visual. It's like it's fun. It's like toy-like. It's not boring. It's like it's meant to like
Vibrant.
Vibrant. It's like a playground, but like anyone can build anything because it's just code. And so this is like, I think, I don't know, everyone's dream as a kid, playing in the sandbox. Like, we're too old for that, but this is the ultimate playground, I think.
Yeah. I mean, by the strict rules of philosophy, Lego is the most amazing toy ever created. So maybe Rives is right there as the next more amazing console ever created.
I hope so. Yeah, I think so. We're gonna get there.
This is awesome, man. We do have this rapid fire round right here. I know Carlo knows it because he already recorded the podcast with me as a host, not as a guest. But for you, Max, I'm going to be throwing at both of you some questions, and you have to reply really quick without barely thinking, with like one word, one sentence. And yeah, so I'm going to throw the first one for both of you. Then I'm going to alternate something or do some for one and then some for the other, right? So for both of you, what's your favorite Web3 game?
I would say for me, Cambria. Excluding like Rives and like Cartesi stuff, because everyone knows that already, right? But like from other Web3 games, I quite enjoyed Cambria, which is this RuneScape-like game with like skin in the game, high stakes. I think it's pretty cool what they're doing. Yeah.
What about you, Carlo?
I like what the Playmint guys are doing, in which they have this really composable game, really cool, with some nice graphics, and they're developing all this really cool tech for making the peer-to-peer communication real time. So I'd go with that.
Nice. Now, Max, it's for you. What's your favorite protocol?
Protocol.
Besides Cartesi.
Besides Cartesi.
I don't want to anger anyone here.
Okay, so Cartesi it is.
Yeah, let's go with Cartesi.
What was your favorite Web3 event so far, as someone who went to plenty of them?
What about Carlo? Didn't he answer? He didn't answer the protocol question.
The protocol question was just for you, but if Carlo wants to answer that, that's okay as well.
I think Carlo wanted to answer that. He has some thoughts on it.
I think besides Cartesi, I really like Risk Zero. They do some really cool tech, and when you join that tech with Cartesi, it's like you do something that's provable instantly, that's small, and then with Cartesi, you do something that's huge, and it's provable with some latency, right? Yeah. And there are some use cases in which you combine both, which magic happens. So I'd go with them.
Yeah, huge synergy. I can see that. Yeah. Yep. Talking about Risk Zero, then, this question's for you then. What's a tech innovation you can't wait to see in the next 5 years?
Blockchain-based or not blockchain-based?
I would say I would go for blockchain-based.
So I'm really into gaming, so I really want to see these zero latency or low latency technologies evolving. It can be something that's state channel based, like what the Playmint guys are doing. It can be an evolution in hardware that allows us to have real-time zero knowledge proofs. I don't know, but I just want to have like a real-time Dota. Yeah.
And not blockchain-based?
Not blockchain-based, we have a lot, right? Like nuclear fusion, we have quantum computing, we have artificial superintelligence or artificial general intelligence. So I think we're up on a wild ride of new techs that are going to change the world.
Fair. That's fair. So now, Max, what was, going back to the other question, what was your favorite Web3 event so far that you've been to? Or that you haven't been, but then I don't know, why would you like it?
I'm thinking maybe I liked EFCC Paris. Well, actually no. Let me get back to a bit further. I think I would say Bogota, like the DEF CON Bogota, because that's where I like where it clicked for me a bit, like autonomous worlds, on-chain games, and that's kind of like led me down this path, I would say. So I don't know if it was my favorite event, but it was like a memorable one because of this inception, or like this tipping point.
Fair. Yeah. That's a good one. Carlo, what's your favorite tool or language for development?
loves,
I have multiple tools and languages that I like. It depends on what you do, right? So generally, if I'm gonna take a first step at it and prototype and do crazy stuff, I would do Python because it has all the barriers included as they say, right?
Yeah, fair.
And then from that you go to the most appropriate language on performance or whatever.
Fair. Okay, for both of you, give me
No, you should ask
reference.
Carlo about his favorite toys.
No, if I start
toys.
asking Carlo about his favorite toys, we'll
Carlo has a
not
very
finish this
cool-
call
We
ever.
need a podcast just for that, and just in sections like drones and Lego like toys and video games. Yeah.
Okay, so one person who's your reference in the space.
This is for me or for him?
Both.
I don't know. I think we have. So blockchain is an area. I've always worked a lot in research like stuff, right? But the teams are like more homogeneous. Blockchain, you have like geniuses from all the areas of the world. So you have people that are worried about use cases on culture like music or arts and other stuff. You have economists, you have brilliant computer scientists from all the areas, you have mathematicians. So it's a really hard time telling someone that's a reference, right? You're just surrounded by these giants in which you can just see farther on top of it, right?
Fair. That's fair. What about you, Max?
I thought Carlo was gonna say like Vitalik or something like that.
He's one of the giants, but I mean there are multiple giants.
I think lately I've been quite. I think a lot of the stuff, like Alliance DAO are doing, Pump Fun. So like founders of Pump Fun, like all these kind of like it's a bit controversial, I think, because like it's like very speculation heavy, but I think it's like they're going kind of to the raw reason, like why what are the successful crypto projects today, right? Most of them they have something to do with generating assets or repackaging how assets are created, traded. So I don't know, it's not a wake-up call, but it's a bit like, sometimes you take a step back, like why what works in crypto, and they've been preaching or doing things going into that direction. So just I think reference point is maybe a lot, but definitely, they have some good takes.
You can just say me because you're a very good friend and I really like spending time with you.
Nah, dude, not you.
No?
You're not a reference
Okay.
point. I'm joking. You are, bro. You're
Just
amazing.
gotta say, I saw that coming when you didn't pick any event that I was in. You just picked the ones I wasn't in.
What do you
I
mean?
didn't go to. And the question of your favorite Web3 event.
I mean, none of you were. I think Carlo wasn't at Bogota either.
I was in Bogota.
You were?
Carlo
Yes.
was in Bogota. Yeah.
Okay,
All
well,
right, guys.
I just remember the autonomous world stuff. I don't remember who I was with, but fair enough. But no, I there's been tons of good events for sure. And I mean, obviously, I wasn't thinking about who I was with. It was more about the.
Yeah, of course.
The
No,
subject
I'm just joking, man. I'm just joking. Putting you on the spot.
It's not respectful. I don't like.
But in general, DevCons are really great because you have all these really cool talks in a really small amount of time, right?
Yeah, I think
you can't even attend to all of them. You have to digest them later, seeing recording, all the stuff. So.
No, it was by far my favorite one because mostly events are like 4 side events. Mostly, like those are the highlights to me, side events in general. But in DevCon, the main event was the one thing that I was like, wow, this is the one main event that I never want to miss. I really don't want to miss a day when I'm here.
Yeah, I just finished watching all the recordings of DevCon yesterday. Finally, it took me quite some. Yeah, I wanted to see everything. I learned a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's insane. Okay, so to finish the rapid fire round, which was not very rapid fiery, both of you guys give me one word to describe the future of gaming.
Immersion.
Skin in the game.
That's 3 words, 4 words.
Risk.
Nice. Okay, so one last question for us to wrap up. So what are you guys looking forward in the future in Web3 as a whole? Now that you've seen everything, every video from DevCon, I really want to get your opinion on that.
Bro, I recommend it. You guys should watch all the videos. They're so good. Especially video number 278 about it was like modular, economics or something. Very interesting. What was the question again?
What are you looking forward to in the future vision of Web3, or what you're looking for in the future of Web3 in general?
More fun shit. I think like I think there's the whole space is gonna get serious eventually, but like sometimes we take it a bit too seriously. I think people should just experiment, build cool shit, put something out there that is fun, unique. So I'm just excited to play with more crazy ideas, stupid ideas. And we'll get to like the more serious stuff eventually, but I don't know. I feel like there's so much you can do that like some of these crazy ideas that we think are crazy today might become the next big thing. Like so yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really answer your question maybe, but
no, I like it. Double down on the meme.
Not memes.
Do more degen stuff.
Not necessarily degen stuff, but just make shit fun. Like chains are kind of boring sometimes. Or I mean they're fun, but some parts of them are fun, but I feel like there could be more anyways.
Me on the other hand, I'm actually looking forward to the serious non-fun stuff. So Brazil is going to get on Drax, and I think that's like the first country that's going to get really deep into having a lot of stuff actually on chain that can have massive benefits on reducing corruption, adding transparency, all this stuff. And once we have like legal frameworks embedded on chain, so real world assets actually are what their tokens represent and all this stuff, and you have everything on chain, corruption, all this stuff will plummet, in my opinion. And we can have a fairer society. People can have more saying. We'll be having actual tools that will allow you to have a voice on what you want in your country, on your neighborhood, all this stuff. So I think that's what I'm looking for on the blockchain, like having a real impact and real world governance for everyone.
Damn, now you make me feel bad, bro.
Nah, man, it's
Sorry,
great.
man, I'm older.
Opposite, like, yeah, I'm completely against this. What I'm looking for is democratize, decentralize the world, remove corruption. And I agree. Those are the ideals. Those are the ideals.
It's a bit philosophical, idealistic, but I really think we can do it. So yeah.
But I think getting there is like where you need the fun shit. Maybe you need the fun shit to like unlock the.
You gotta enjoy the trip, right? Not just head to the destination. That's it.
Oh yeah.
Also, existing systems, I feel like they're not gonna. They need to like get disrupted by something that is just bigger than them, and where they don't have a choice anymore to like accept it. Anyways, but that's why I don't know. But yeah, it's a fair point, Carlo. It's a fair point. Democratize countries, and like make them fairer and give access to finance to people that don't have it. Maybe those are all valid points, with stable coins and stuff. Just less
tangible. Don't feel bad, Max. You complete each other, okay? Your guys' answers completed each other. It was poetic.
Cool.
All right, guys. This was really fun, at least for me. I hope you have enjoyed it as well. I had some good laughs and I learned a lot. So yeah, thank you so much for coming, man. Thank you so much, really.
Thank you.
Pleasure, man.
Yeah, we have to do this again. All right, so this was iBuilder 4 a.m. Keep building and pioneering the world of Web3. Bye.
Keep building and pioneering.
Have fun.
See ya.
Bye-bye.